The sun was only just starting to set over the Chicago skyline, but the sun still shone brightly into the room, creating a great feeling of security and safety. The room wasn't cramped like most of the places he'd spent the better part of 20 years in. It was comfortable and spacious, with everything you could need, just in case. It felt great. John Meeks, an eminent detective with the Chicago Police Department, was on the tail of one of the better-known crime bosses in Chicago, the legendary Mr. Wayne Wayne.
Okay,
well,
Mr. Wayne Wayne.
Mr. Wayne Wayne is like, no, hang on, don't be throwing around Mr. Wayne Wayne's name.
No, it's
Mr.
great.
Wayne Wayne will get you.
Oh, I believe it.
He was wanted by the Chicago State Attorney, who had found him running a notorious prostitution ring. Wayne ran a sophisticated criminal syndicate that took advantage of the city's poor public transportation system with his numerous vehicles and drugs and the numerous prostitution gangs that sprang up throughout the city. John was a very intelligent man, and he was interested in all aspects of the underworld. But he was always one step behind, and often had a bad heart. He liked gambling, but when he needed to go down, John took it out on other people, not the other way round.
It's just not right.
John murmured.
We have more criminals running around our city than you can imagine, and our public transportation has many serious flaws.
John looked around at everything within earshot of him. He was pacing, addressing his team. He seemed to know all of them intimately. He could smell them through the air.
No one likes crime, and it is the wrong sort of crime. A bad-natured, nasty one.
He let his words hang a moment and smiled. Lucy was the first to respond.
It is all wrong, and there are some really decent police officers out here that would do anything to protect us. Like me.
She looked around her at the faces of those in the line before her, with the smiles growing as she tried to see what was so strange in them. Lucy was smart. She'd been in law enforcement for a long time before being chosen to become a member of the police squad, which, while they were nice men, were just like her, cold, serious, and boring. John had been lucky enough to meet Lucy in school after he was asked to give a talk. He saw her potential immediately. 10 years later, she's still doing what she does well, trying to change the world in an innovative way.
But what about crime in the future, John? We should work towards an integrated policy on crime in the society to tackle crimes at an even better rate.
John nodded, then asked,
Are there any people you would like to help? Wow, John changed. John changed.
I don't know what John used to sound like.
He was more like this, and right. I don't know what happened.
That's notes for you. Do you want to do it again?
Yeah, hold on. Are there any people you would like to help?
She hesitated for a moment, her eyes glinting like an angel's, as she responded.
All the people in this room, of course.
Wayne Wayne had recently started work on a cunning scam. He was going to steal the money out of the trust fund of the city of New York to pay his gambling debts.
New York?
Yeah,
no!
I know.
Oh, I mean, Wayne Wayne.
But, like, why is that the responsibility of the Chicago police? We're not quite sure. It doesn't matter. When he realized he wouldn't be able to take out the money, he took it into his own hands. He'd already stolen money from a bank in another city before, but this time he decided to try the big city. He pulled the heist of his own creation, robbing a bank on the other side of the country, but he didn't know he'd run out of money. He tried to keep the heist quiet by not reporting it to the police. A tried and tested method of keeping criminal activity under the radar.
Well, yeah, just don't phone it in. Just don't tell anyone. Just don't phone it in. It's fine.
It's simple. The city cops had seen his name come up, though, on the list of names that were released every time someone did a crime.
So, like, even before his first crime, they were like...
Can you try saying Wayne Wayne was well respected?
Wayne Wayne was oh!
There we go. Wayne Wayne was well respected in the underworld, but it didn't seem likely that Wayne Wayne would survive long. John had been tasked with tracking Wayne down with his crack team of detectives. So far, they'd found nothing. But this new lead had him stumped. He'd been on patrol when luck struck. It came from the first person they came across that evening, a young male wearing a bright red t-shirt, his hood pulled over his head. He was walking a friend home, and then he took a wrong turn, going to a neighborhood park. John could see the suspect's hands as he approached the two men.
I told him, come here.
John would later retell to another detective.
And he said, no. I said, come here. I'll show you.
He pulled his own t-shirt over his head and held out his arms. John had no fear for his life, but as soon as he saw the man's face, it was clear that the kid had some serious beef. He started to shout at him.
What do you know about the location of Wayne's home?
John yelled back.
No one knows,
the kid said.
No one knows where Wayne's home is. We don't know who he is.
John immediately thought.
Bullshit!
He had a strong feeling about this kid. He'd seen him in the neighborhood before, and he knew that he was a violent guy. He asked the kid to explain himself, and the kid did. He said he came from a very wealthy family, but he never had a chance in life. So after a few years, he decided to change his life. He started working in the McDonald's down the street, and he was making pretty good money at that time, even though he was only 20 years old. I mean, you've got to respect the hustle.
Oh, the hustle is strong. The hustle is strong with this one.
One day, he decided he needed to see a lot of girls, so he went to a sex shop down the road.
Well, this took a turn.
The only problem was, this shop was full of cops and security guards who were all watching the place. He told them that he was a guy trying to see girls, and he got caught in the crossfire. He was shot and killed on the spot.
He's dead?
Yeah, he's dead. He's been dead the whole time.
He's a ghost!
He's a ghost. It was a pretty bad night for the neighborhood. A slight understatement.
I think it's a pretty bad night for him.
It was a bad night for McDonald's.
Oh, shit.
The police department was really pissed about it, and ever since the kid had been shot and killed, he was seen as a troublemaker.
What's your name, kid?
John asked the kid.
Slim.
The kid replied.
My name's John.
The cop responded.
I'm the officer that's been sent here to investigate your death. Slim, you gotta listen to me.
John said.
If you don't listen to me, you'll end up dead.
What are you talking about?
Slim asked.
I'm talking about you, son. You're a troublemaker, and you're gonna be dead. I'm taking you downtown. I'll give you a ride to the police station.
John pulled him into the cops department and told the receptionist at the front desk that Slim has to obey him like some big-ass dude. The receptionist had tears flowing down her beautiful and round red face.
Any theories on how this kid knows Wayne?
Barked John to the room of detectives. Detective Scott walked in, a sad look on his face.
No, John, no theories,
said Chief Bogo.
It's just one of those things.
John leaned forward.
It's really not one of those things,
he said firmly as he stared down at the picture of the girl with her eyes shut, with a blank expression and a single tear falling down her cheek.
What?
Said Chief Bogo, looking at the picture.
But it says Diana!
It says Diana!
Shouted John as he threw the picture on the floor in rage.
Who can tell me the significance of that?
Detective Scott rushed across the room to join the others with a hollering, furious grunt, when something snapped under him, as if there wasn't enough room to handle the situation. A silence hung in the air as the detectives looked blankly at each other.
Does nobody know?
Barked John. He continued.
I guess it means we'll find out in about 4 days' time if and when my little brother actually says goodbye to the devil.
Then suddenly his fists started to grow big. He stormed out of the office, ashamed of his poor choices.
His poor choices for his fists to grow so big.
I think he's like, is it channeling like the Hulk?
I think so.
Like he's about to Hulk out.
Yeah. Well,
maybe that's a character trait that we'll come back to.
Like his brother.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I completely glossed over his little brother saying goodbye to the devil.
What does that even mean? Like,
why does his brother know the devil? An hour later, John closed the door behind him in his apartment alone and turned on some soft jangling drums and a violin piece and turned the light on.
Ooh, this is nice.
He was so exhausted that he was still sitting at the window. How was he going to crack this case? They had no leads. But the police were smart, and they put the police detective in charge of this case, and he'd put his brain on the case.
You know, I used to tell myself that my head is as big as a bus.
He thought.
Listen, your head is bigger than a bus, and it's full of water. So I guess your head is just like a giant soaking wet bus.
So I googled this because I was pretty confident that it was impossible that could have been generated.
Right.
But it's there's no such thing as your head is a giant soaking wet bus. In no way is that not a compliment. He only had to focus and put his brain to the task. Who was Diana? Was she alive? Was she in trouble? Was she in danger? Was she dead?
Was she dead?
Everyone else is dead. He couldn't tell. He didn't know. He'd been working on this for a long time, for decades. And yet it was difficult. The people he worked with were his peers. If his plan failed, they might consider his career a failure and abandon him. And he had come closer, and he was almost there. He sat on the edge of his king bed, wearing no shoes, his top half covered in dark green clothing he found in an underground shop on his route from Tokyo.
I miss you, Sally. You're the greatest person ever. And I can't have you here. Can I?
John was unable to see his wife since the divorce is under seal, and the state law says that a husband can't see his wife for a few years. I don't think the state has any say in what is in the divorce, so it's up to the parties, and sometimes courts can be kind of mean. John thought if it had been him, he probably would have just paid the $3,500 to have his wife's name removed from all the bankruptcy papers. When it comes to the divorce and the legal issues involved, the wife has the right to a spousal support check from him at any time. We want prenup.
We want prenup.
Yeah. And she should also have the right to a percentage of his money when he's out the country. The divorce and legal issues are just part of his life. This year has felt more intense for John, because last December, on May the 19th, we watched him go and jump off Mount Olympus without the ropes.
Wait, who's we?
We, the narrator.
Oh, okay.
He enjoyed hiking all year with his family before a few things broke the bank. His health had gotten worse with his arthritis, lots of it in the winter here. The phone rang. John is trying desperately now to answer it in an unusual tone of voice, but doesn't seem too sure or eager or prepared, because that kind of voice usually isn't good.
Hello there, mister,
said John as he picked up the line, sounding almost desperate. He had tried too hard.
John, it's Jeff from the station. Could you please come through at 10:45 and be in my kitchen by 10:45?
How odd for the most unprofessional man ever to try and make conversation in his living room.
What's going on with you guys? Is it really important? I'm missing the dinner party and I'm not sure if I can get back to work.
No, it's fine. The kid's in the hospital and we're gonna have to take him to the hospital.
What?
Shouted John. He couldn't believe it. Why the hell would he be talking so openly with Jeff? And how would Wayne manage to get to the kid? What did he want?
I'll be right there. I just need to finish off this dinner party.
I actually really hate it when that happens. When I get called back into the office during a
Oh
dinner
my
party.
god, during a dinner party that's just yourself.
Yeah. Just you on your own.
Just you and your
But
own.
like the ready meal's in the oven now.
It's the divorce dinner party that he has for himself.
Table for one.
Just table for one, please.
Table for one, gâteau for three. John ran downstairs and ushered his guests into the room where they were eating.
So there are guests.
There are guests. They were shocked when John walked in, wearing only a thin white bathrobe.
I like the qualifier thin.
Thin, as in translucent.
Like you can see everything. Hello, ladies and gentlemen,
John said.
It's good to see you all here.
The room erupted in cheers and applause. John continued.
I'm sorry, ladies, but we're all gonna have to eat a little later, or we're all starved to death.
John ran out of the room and into his car.
Why does he have to go out like that?
Linda asked.
What is he doing? What does he want? Where is he going? Do you think John has any money?
John sped off into the night, never coming back to this party again.
Oh my god. What's going to happen in part 2?
I don't know. What do you think? Well, which characters have we generated? We've generated John, obviously. John he's gritty, isn't he?
He's gritty and gruff.
He's gruff. He's not best pleased.
No.
He's not a happy man. Slim, the kid in the jail cell. So he's in hospital now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine walking into a hospital and then just a fully dead man arrives who died? He's like 10 years dead.
Why do you think, what do you think he has? Like, do you think he, stubbed his ghost toe?
Well, it's like, how do you kill someone who's undead? I guess there are films about this.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's had a stake driven through his heart.
Oh, maybe. Or, they said his name backwards.
Like, we've got to operate. His name has been said backwards.
He's losing a lot of ectoplasm?
That is what would happen. Can we talk about Jeff? And Jeff's unrealistic time expectations.
Oh, I don't know why he would.
Well, we've learned that the kitchen the kitchen where Jeff works is less than 1 minute from the entrance to the station. If he can get to the station at 10:45 and be in the kitchen by 10:45, we know that is at most like a 59-second walk.
So, do you think he lives in his kitchen?
I think he lives there. He obviously just works late. We assume 10:45 p.m.
Or maybe they're having a coffee. Maybe
wait, hang on. The kid's in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So why isn't Jeff sending John to the hospital where the kid is? They're like, by the way, just so you know, that your witness, or your suspect, sorry, is in the hospital. By the way,
would you like a latte?
I don't think I'd leave a dinner party for that. The McDonald's shooting. That's not good.
And he was dead the whole time.
I just think I actually think this is an interesting comment on Vice because he just started to get his life back together. He was making good money at McDonald's. And you can, by the way.
You absolutely
let's get that
can.
absolutely on the record. Anyways, he was making good money at McDonald's, and then the Vice grips him. That need to, and I quote, see a lot of girls. It's not explained why the sex shop was also full of policemen. Lucy, we meet, John meets Lucy at school, which is odd. But it seems like he was there to sort of scare them straight type thing.
And she's smart, too.
And then, out of the blue, she comes up with some pithy thoughts on not only what they should do immediately, but how they should develop, like, criminal policy. An integrated policy on crime. So I'm thinking...
Crime in the society.
In the society. I'm seeing leadership potential from Lucy.
Oh, yeah, no, she's, give it, I'd say another 6 months. She's going to replace Bogo.
She's going to replace Bogo or be at the Home Office. Well, that kind of is where we're at now. We're now going to generate the second half of the story and then see how all these different loose ends get tied up. I mean, I'm excited. I look forward to it.
I am too.
Great.